Oh,
And we're live.
I'm excited. This is going to be a good one tonight. Welcome to episode 102 of the Drag Driver Pete Show presented by Summit Racing. Tonight we've got a ton of stuff. Central Victorian Drag Drive results, Road Trip Drag Challenge #1 results, Sick at the Rock results, Sick Wild Cards come out, and we've got Ryan from PerformaBuilt Transmissions and Chuck Stefanski from Big Three Racing. It's going to be a crazy fast-paced show. So grab your favorite drink, sit down, let's get this thing going, dude.
All right, let's jump into it.
Man, let's do this. This is going to be a great episode tonight, y'all. I'm kind of excited. This is going to be a great one. Let's kick this off.
What'd you
My
think?
name is Mike. Oh,
What'd
sorry.
you
Go
think of
ahead,
the new intro? I
bro.
was
It's
waiting
awesome.
for a comment.
It's awesome. Well, I was thinking the whole time. I'm like, I haven't been watching in the last couple weeks. So is that the one that he had done? Um,
No, that's the brand new one. First
man,
time.
freaking amazing. I love it. There's so many stories within that too. Like every part of that, I'm like, oh man, I remember that. Oh, that a lot of that stuff came from Sick Week 2025, and so it's kind of fun. That seems to be kind of like the kickoff event that kicks off the new intros for the year. So maybe we change it up a little bit. Like after each big event, we you sprinkle in a few more things. That could
There
be
we
kind of
go.
cool, something like that. But yeah, great job, dude. Great job on that. And I hope everybody out there enjoyed that intro. And if you didn't, just back it up, go watch it again. Y'all, my name is Mike Narks. I'm the host of the Drag Driver Pete show that you're watching now and the Drag Driver Pete news that happens on Saturday mornings. And man, we're having a blast over here, dude. It's been kind of crazy the last couple of weeks. My right hand man, Mr. Eric White, over here. Introduce yourself. Tell him what you got going on, man.
I am Eric White, co-host of both the show and the news. Right-hand man, anything drag, drive, repeat that you see, artwork, intro videos, the circuit, all that stuff. I enjoy doing all that stuff, so that's what keeps me busy. And thank you, Johnny, yes, and Jay. Now today is my birthday.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm excited about that, dude. Happy birthday to you. Should I sing to you, or do we wait for the guys to get on and we all sing to you at one time?
Who I don't want to chase everybody away this early, so let's wait.
Let's wait. Let's wait. Well, man, listen. Happy birthday to you for real. That's awesome. You're a big part of obviously everything that goes on here at Drag Driver Pete and the circuit, and really everything else in my life that it revolves around anything social media and friendship wise. Man, me and you probably talk more than anybody else other than maybe Steven.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
pretty wild, man. I appreciate you being around. Need you to have at least another 60 birthdays, something like that.
We'll see what I can do.
Yeah, if we're still doing this by then, we're gonna man. I can't imagine what the drag and drive world's gonna be like then.
Right, no doubt.
Yep. Well, let's get into this thing, man. Guys, we can't do this without you guys. That's the whole reason we're here. Like race car friends make the whole world go round. I say it every week, but you guys are pretty amazing, and just big shout out to everybody that's out there that helps push us further and do better and do more and all that stuff all the time. So thank you for being our race car friends. Thank you for being here. Hit the share button as we roll on. And our sponsors, they make these things happen. They make all of our equipment purchase, our travels, all that kind of stuff work all year long, man. It's really amazing. Summit Racing, Deech Works, Molly Motorsports, Driven Racing Oil, Howard's Cams, J Wire Solutions, WAF Racing, PerformaBuilt Transmissions, Car Chains 3D, Power Tube TV, Sweet Patina, and Racing Junk Classifieds. If you guys are looking for parts, looking to spend a little money, please do it with them. That would really help them obviously supports the drag and drive community as well. And then do the Summit Racing ad read here, and then we got some really fun stuff to talk about that Summit is releasing. Summit Racing Speed Legacy began in 1968 as a one-man startup and is now the world's speed shop with 4 facilities and 200 plus catalog editions that we're going to talk about in a minute. Fueling your passion, they save you money, deliver fast, and offer top-notch customer service for more than 1,500 brands. Make sure to download the Summit Racing mobile app for easy access to speed parts. You can find them on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram, and on the On All Cylinders podcast for more automotive discussions like this one. From humble origins to the social media lane, Summit Racing stands by your need for speed. SummitRacing.com is where you can find all the stuff like these. Like this sweet shirt I'm wearing right here. You can grab you one of those while you're in there. And yep, Summit hat. You got Drag Driver Pete hoodies. You got, the big brim hats, which are going to be very much needed at any event moving forward for at least the next 6 or 8 months.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
All right, man. Tell us about what's going on with this right here.
Yeah, so this is the new product release. This is the Pro LS blocks. So Tommy from Summit Racing is going to be on episode 105, and he's going to talk a little bit more about these blocks. So make sure if you guys got questions about these LS blocks, you get those ready for when we have him on. So the Summit Racing SPC Pro LS blocks are an aftermarket engine block made for street performance or competition. These brand new aftermarket blocks are hybrid, combining features from both Gen 3 and 4 models. They are cast in a modern, state-of-the-art German foundry on brand new molds and machined in the USA on modern high-speed machining centers. They ship these blocks mostly finished, but leave the cylinder bore 5 thou undersized, so your machine shop will have to hone them for the proper size. So these blocks are a great foundation for your new engine build, and they're loaded with tons of performance features. So definitely head over there to Summit Racing and check out these new Pro LS blocks. These things look and sound pretty cool.
Yeah, 468 cubic inch capacity. Bro.
Yeah.
Crazy. Max bore 185 and a max stroke of 4 1/4. That's big boy stuff right there. Two deck heights, standard deck and then a tall deck too. I mean, you guys can go on, you can look at it. We're going to put out a write up here shortly with all this. I think it goes live at 10 o'clock tonight Eastern. So you'll be able to see all the stuff that goes on in there and all the things about the block and all the things that I don't understand. So
yeah, the Pro LS line of parts just continues to grow over there.
Yeah, that is for sure. Those guys are working hard, man. They trying to, keep pushing. Like I said earlier, while you're in there, while you're picking up that new block or the new valve covers that were in the same email, but we didn't go over them this time. Grab your Drag Driver Pete merch, Summit branded Drag Driver Pete merch, super cool. And then let's talk about some other Drag Driver Pete updates. Tell us what you guys did over the weekend.
Yeah, so for those that know, my dad has a 78 Nova. It's a straight 6 4-door car, and he called me up and said he had a lead on a 307 out of a Malibu for $250. So on Friday after I got off work, we went and picked that up. So you can see that on the left, and we wasted no time tearing it apart. And you can see he's already got new valve covers, new intake, a new carb. Like, he is so jammed up to get this thing going. It's been exciting. So can't wait to work on this and get it running. He did a compression check today on it to make sure that everything was good before we got too in-depth, and everything was great. The guy we got it from said it should have been a low mile engine, and the compression, everything was good on it. So super excited to help him finish tearing this down and get the straight 6 pulled out, get this dropped in, and see him out ripping around in that 4-door Nova.
Yeah, man, it's going to at least give him another 30 or 40 horsepower. Another 100, to be honest.
Yeah, so super cool. The guy we picked it up from is a local guy, literally I don't know, a minute and a half from my house. Like I could almost see where he lives from here. Super cool. Had a bunch of engines, bunch of old cars. So of course, we hung out there and chatted for a little bit, but
Yeah. And then so now you got a new race car friends right around the corner.
Yeah, that is true.
That's
And
cool. All right.
the next bit of news is something I've been teasing for a while, and finally am able to talk about it. So if you've seen this on Summit website or their Facebook page, or if you've gotten in the mail your Summit Racing, what they call their big book, you'll notice Dave Hart, his car on the cover. And if you look close enough, that is from Hot Rod Drag Week. And you know who was at Hot Rod Drag Week?
Uh,
Us. So this cover photo is indeed one of the photos that I took at Hot Rod Drag Week.
dude, that
So
is so cool.
never in my wildest dreams would I ever have thought that a photo that I took would be on the cover of the magazine.
That
But
is so cool, man.
not only that, you flip it to the inside page, and there's a picture of Finnegan's car, which is also one of my photos. And then the good one is the centerfold of the catalog is a bunch of pictures of Dave Hart's car. It's probably going to be hard for me to hold this up, but hopefully you guys can see it.
Dude, that is
Let's
so
see it this
freaking
way.
cool.
So these photos, and I'm going to post some pictures tomorrow that are better. But yeah, this whole centerfold is photos that I took from Hot Rod Drag Week. So big thanks to Tommy, Jim, everybody over at Summit for letting me be a part of that,
Hmm.
and using these photos for the book, for the website, for any of the marketing for this quarterly big book they call it.
Dude, that is so cool, man. And listen, congratulations to you. And it lands like kind of on your birthday. And like, dude, it's just amazing. It's
Yeah,
amazing. You have the full centerfold like that. Shows your ability for sure. So you've earned that. You deserve that. And I'm glad they can make that happen.
yeah, I appreciate that. It was definitely cool getting the magazine in the mail. There's another piece that I have that I will share tomorrow with pictures. So if you don't follow me on social media, Facebook and that, definitely be on the lookout for that because I got one more surprise that came with the magazine today that yeah, it's probably a little too big to show on camera here. So I'll get some good pictures of it and post it tomorrow.
How cool, man. That is so neat. And again, congratulations to you. If everybody, in the chat over there. Yeah, massive congrats from Dirty Panda himself. All right. Well, dude, circuit updates, man. We've got good stuff happening finally over here at the circuit. We've gotten through the date change. We've gotten through the all the setup. So I'll give the quick rundown. All refunds were requested today. I would be watching for those, you know, for tomorrow or Friday, something like that in your accounts. Talk about brain damage, complete brain damage. The FOAT will not allow you to move the ticket forward to the next year. So we refunded people. But what that means is we're actually going to have some spots open up. That frees up 17 spots for waitlisters. I didn't want to get into requesting waitlister places yet because I wanted to get through all the refunds and everything like that and get the thing set up. And so we'll start working through the waitlisters tomorrow. But dude, things are falling into place. We got the bowling alley locked in. We'll be able to party back there at the Broken Arrow Lanes. On Tuesday of last week, the restaurant that we were going to host the pre-party at, they locked in. We'll be able to host there again. So like it's going to be like the circuit April, but it's just going to be 3 months late. So it's going to be pretty cool. I'm excited to have things falling into place and to be able to get back to it, man. I was really waiting on the Broken Arrow lanes to lock in for the racer party before I sent out hotel stuff to everybody. So I will be sending that out tomorrow. I'm still working on a Joplin hotel because of all the struggles everybody have with lamplighter. We're looking for a new spot, but I've got plans for Friday night that I need to work out first. So it may be another couple weeks before we get Joplin hotels. So just so everybody just calm down, be patient with me. We're working through those, I promise. So
That's
that's your circuit 2025 updates.
Yeah, that's awesome. It is good to get some of that stuff back locked in because I mean, for a little while it was really stressful going through
Oh
everything that
man.
we did, and I'm glad to see progress being made, and I'm excited. I'm ready to get back to it.
Yeah, me too. Well, man, let's move on here. Let's talk about some driven racing oil event updates.
All right. Driven racing oil is the performance engine oil that can do it all. GP1 is the ultimate oil for any race or performance application, whether launching hard at the drag strip, enduring the extreme heat of off road and circle track, or pushing limits in top fuel drag boats and demo derbies. Winning racers choose GP1. Compatible with engines from classic hot rods to cutting edge race machines, GP1's unique surface cling and high zinc formulation ensures superior wear protection, particularly for flat tappet camshafts, while solving issues like cylinder washout with methanol and ethanol fuels. Crafted from the legendary Bradford, Pennsylvania base oil, then enhanced with state of the art additive packages, GP1 offers the best in protection and performance. And you guys know the deal, drivenracingoil.com. You can pick up your oil or your merch. And social media, you can follow them at Driven Racing Oil on Facebook and Instagram.
Yep, man, let's blast through these events. These are upcoming events. You were putting this together today, dude. How many events are in the next 2 months? I guess two
So,
and a half months.
yeah, so I was trying to get through June. And as I was going through it, there is 14 events between now and the end of June.
That is insane.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah,
Wow.
so that's what, 8, 10-ish weeks, and there's 14 events in that time
Yeah.
span.
Yeah, and let's blast through these real quick, and we'll talk about the big heavy weekend. So we got Carolina Drag Cruise. Let's me and you just alternate these. Carolina Drag Cruise, April 24th through 27th at Shadyside Dragway. I'm trying to put numbers together. I know they're sold out at 64 racers. I'm going to go through here and put the registered numbers on these, and we'll talk about that on Saturday morning. How many people will be racing the next few weeks?
Gotcha. Next up is Back to the Streets, May 21st through 25th, with a host track being Muncie Dragway, and we're looking at roughly 70-ish racers for this one.
Yeah, I'm excited about this event. Again, Brown County, that's going to be huge for the drag and drive community. That track has like this ambiance of just fun stuff, heads up, no prep, drag and drive. This I don't know if it gets any more no prep heads up than Brown County, and so it's going to be super cool to see that go down. And then Sick on the Green. Again, we're going to talk to Chuck later about Sick at the Rock, and I can't wait to hear the feelings on the weekend event. You know, because a lot of times these guys that are just now getting into like the sick stuff, they haven't done a weekend event like this with a drag and drive. So I'm excited to see how this goes.
Yeah. Then we've got Drop the Hammer in Michigan, May 30th through June 1st, with that host track being US 131 in Martin, Michigan.
Yeah, and then same weekend you've got Olympic Streetcar Shootout, which is in the Northwest, May 30th through June 1st at Bremerton Raceway there in Washington.
And then up next is the Rocky Mountain Race Week Mega Week, our big event for the year,
Yeah,
May 31st through June 7th, and host track there being Tulsa Raceway Park. So,
yep.
track you're very familiar with.
Dude, I'm so pumped. Like I can't explain to you guys. While we were in Texas for Midwest Drag Race Series, they signed up to race with Donald Long at Martin at 131 for the Midwest and like a bunch of radio stuff. And immediately I was like, oh, it's going to be badass. And I was like, oh, wait, I can't go to that because I'll be at Tulsa pulling double duty for Drag Drive Repeat and for Tulsa Raceway Park. Listen, this is a fun event. Tulsa Raceway Park is going to promote the Hades out of this thing. We're going to be at that track 4 days, and I want so many spectators there. It's just I want it to blow people's minds
Yeah, I
when they
think
see all
we
the cool stuff.
yeah, I think we forgot to update this on the
Ah,
website. Drop the Hammer Mid Michigan.
yep,
I do remember that now. We need to update that on the website. I'll make a note for that.
yep, yep. Dadgummit. Sorry about that. Yep. And then Alaska Speed Week kicks off the same week. We've got June 8th through 14th, or sorry, the next week, June 8th through 14th, Alaska Raceway Park. This is a week-long event that only races 3 days because there's so much driving involved up there. And if you guys will remember, Phil Balmaceda and Chris Story took the ZR1 Corvette up there and had a blast. They tell that story, I think, on like episode 68 or 9 or something like that. So great story there. Can't wait to see that. And then got to hang out with some of the Alaska Speed Week alumni on 666. So, drag and drive people getting around everywhere, man.
Yep. And then we've got the home quarter drag and drive. That is June 13th through 15th in Saskatoon, Canada.
Yeah, this is going to be a cool one. This is a 3-day deal, and they're using the same track all 3 days, which I'm excited. It's one of the first times we'll see that format out there. Well, really, the only time we've seen that format for 3 days. We've seen several do 2 days at the same track, but not three. So, going to be really cool there. And then Street Weekend UK, June 13th through 15th, same weekend, Santapod Raceway in the UK. So that should be another good one. I think that one's fully sold out at 200 cars or something like that. So that ought to be awesome.
Yep. And then following that up, we've got Six Summer, June 15th through 20th, right here near me, starting out at Byron Dragway in Byron, Illinois. I will be there with Pops. He's going to be with me the whole week. So I am super excited about Six Summer.
Dude, and Andy just put a V8 in the Nova. Shh.
I'm just saying.
Dude, your dad's going to be hooked.
No
That's
doubt.
going to be awesome. And then obviously, same week, we've got Big Sky Race Week, Yellowstone Drag Strip. That's right, like Yellowstone in Montana. Going to be at the drag strip there, June 15th through 20th.
Then BC Drag It Challenge is June 18th through 23rd. Don't know the host track here, but it is in British Columbia.
Yeah, and then same thing, another Canadian event. The kind of just right after that, East Coast Drag and Drive at Miramichi
Yeah.
Dragway in New Brunswick, Canada, which is like just kind of north of Detroit and all that kind of stuff. This one's brand new for this year, and looks like they're on the promoting train, man. We love it. It's cool to see.
Yep. And rounding out the end of June, obviously, is Us with the Circuit 2025, June 26th through 29th, again at Tulsa Raceway Park. So, again, that's 14 events over the next 2 months.
It's crazy. And we talked about this a little bit, maybe a few episodes ago, but between May 29th and June 29th, there are literally 3 days that racers are not on a drag and drive event in the entire month.
Yeah, pretty wild. And that puts us at 42 events for the year so far. So
Yeah.
if you want to look at that event list or curious about any events, dragdriverepeat.com/event list hyphen 2025.
Yeah. Nuts, man. It is absolutely nuts. Well, let's move on to the J-Wire Solutions segment here, talking about some other drag and drive events. Expert car and marine wiring solutions you can trust. J-Wire Solutions can wire and plumb your hot rod, race car, or drag and drive car. Plus, they offer products to make your driving experience better, like the blinker module that is a must for all drag and drive cars. The module will allow your rear turn signals to continue to function while the brake pedal is applied, just like your stock daily driver will. This is not something that happens when you wire in like an aftermarket, wiring harness and stuff like that. So this week we're going to talk about the Central Victorian Drag and Drive. I know this happened the end of March, but we really literally have not had time to get to these, and we definitely want to give these racers and the promotion teams a big shout out and go over their winners.
Yep. All right. So kicking off with the first class was the ladies DYO bracket class. Winner there was Jules Hester with a margin of 0.012, which is pretty awesome. Second place for that is Laura Rosevier, and her margin was 0.020. And rounding out the top three there was Ashley Pumphrey with a margin of 0.021. So second place, 0.020, and third place, 0.021. So obviously there was some pretty good competition there.
Yeah, for sure. And then bracket DYO, Corey Pocock wins that one by a margin of 0.0149. Brett Chapman, second place with 0.40. And then Gavin Howlett with coming in third at 0.47 margin difference there for the bracket class.
Yeah. And then the 60 to 649 class, the man himself, Dave Curtis, took that one with a margin of 0.26.
That's awesome. And it's 60 to 649, 650 to 699. Peter Chapman with a margin of difference of 0.082. So congratulations to that guy.
Yep. And the 70 to 749 class, we got Steven Ibsen with a margin of 0.138.
And then bracket 750 to 799 is Craig Tonneson with a margin of victory, or a difference, 0.114.
And then last is the 8-0 and over was Tasia Hull with a margin of 0.065. So pretty good there. Congrats to all of those racers that participated and took home some pretty cool hardware.
Right. And I want to go down here. Dave gave us all the photos that you're seeing right here. So a big shout out to him. And then Penny Iveson is the credit for all the photos that were sent over or that we are posting right here when you guys are watching it. So big shout out to them. You know, it takes a village, man. That's for sure, to get these events done. So big shout out to them. Congratulations to all the winners. And this is another event, and I'll show you one of 7 or 8 this year. We've got 7 or 8 events in Canada. You know, Dragon Drive's taking over the world, man.
Yeah, so appreciate Dave and them sending over all the results and the photos. Definitely helps us get the show ready for sure.
Yep. All right, let's move into the Molly Motorsports segment, and after this ad read, we'll be bringing on Mr. Chuck.
All right, racers and high performance enthusiasts, are you ready for your next engine build? If so, there is no better time than now to check out Molly Motorsports all-in-one Power Pack Piston Kit. With over 1,200 applications, these kits come complete with pistons, rings, wrist pins, and clips, all designed to work together. Molly Motorsports Power Pack piston kits take out all the guesswork. No more trying to determine if a piston will need this ring to work with a certain cylinder size. Molly Motorsports did all of the engineering so you can get the part that matters, which is building a power plant that leads to victory lane. Make sure to visit mollymotorsports.com for more details. And as always, our podcast listeners, Molly is spelled Mahle.
Oh, man. All right, let's get this guy on here. I'm excited to have him on with us tonight. Mr. Chuck, please introduce yourself. Tell everybody. Nope, not that one. Where am I at here? What am I doing? Oh, there we go.
You got
It's
it.
like
You'll get it. You'll get it.
Dude, I'm out of practice, man. It's weird. I feel like we haven't done this in a long time. Man, introduce yourself. Tell everybody what's going on, and kind of how you got to here, and then we're going to talk about some history and the shop and all that stuff.
Yeah, my name's Chuck Stefanski. I'm part of the owner or one of the owners of Big 3 Racing. Obviously, we got Rick. I think Rick's been on with you guys before. Rick Trunkett with the Duster, and then we got Bob Hess with his purple Hemi powered Fox. So I know both of those have gotten a lot of attention as well.
Yeah, we need to have Bob on soon. And then we bring all 3 of you guys on.
Yeah, I can tell you how it would go with Bob. He would just sit there and stare at you. So I don't know if he's going to be the best one yet, but I guess if we get all 3 of us together, it would work out well.
Yeah, that would be a ton of fun. Well, like we were talking before the show, man, I'm excited to talk about the shop. Obviously you have one of the most creative vehicles that's out there. Everybody that's not under a rock will know the Pontiac wagon with the zoomies that come out, and is the loudest car on the property for sure, I think. But I want to start out. I want to know, like, what did you first drive? What was your first car? Like a dude that's in your spot in life. How did you end up with this, and what did you start with?
So it's kind of funny because it was a G body. I actually had a 86 Cutlass, but it was a 4-door. So also kind of unique, but it was single one owner. I mean, it still had stock exhaust on it, 307 V8. I mean, it was as bone stock as you could get, and paid $800 for it. And it got me, to work and to school and everything else. But it was actually obviously the first car I ever did a burnout in. And I can tell you that, including Rick, but we would drive around, and Bob, we would drive around, and it did one tire fire. So only the passenger side tire would spin, but I had 3 or 4 spares in the trunk. So we would go until it popped, just that one tire, jack it up, take that tire off, and put another one on so I could get to work. And this is something we would do like on our way to work, like just down a back road for no reason, like no cameras, no nothing. Just everybody would stand around and watch me do a burnout.
That's awesome.
I've been doing burnouts for a long time.
Yeah. Well, I think you're probably pretty good at them. We see these, the car obviously on the track doing burnouts, but man, this thing is really one of the funnest cars to watch. And you guys pack it down. You can see people in here. It'll hold 4 people, right?
Oh yeah. It's got 4 Kirkies in it. The back ones are like the low rise, like roadster buckets that we had to get a little creative to make them fit between the wheel wells, but especially it's a 650 cert cage too. So I mean, that's a lot of cage in that car in order for us to all fit in there. And we loaded up. I mean, that other picture you put up right before that, I mean, that was our first sick week, which was not last, so 2024 sick week, and no trailer, and also the very first time the car had ever been on the road, so completely untested. I can tell you that, like, I made that roof rack, and it had never been tested on the car. Like we showed up and I think we're in Orlando's when we started, and took 2 trips with an F-250 to unload everything we were taking. And that was kind of my first thought, like, well, this might be a little too much, but at that point it was too late. So we just stacked it. The whole inside of the car was completely full. And I'll tell you, it probably had to weigh 7,500 pounds, 7,000 pounds. I mean, we got 1,000 pounds of man in there. I mean, that's
right.
It's a heavy, and the car was 3,550 to begin with. So, I mean, it was, I think actually that year, or for that one, we were actually just over 36, like 36.25, because we were still running 85 and had our water tank and everything like that. So,
yeah, the roof rack blew my mind when I saw it. Hang on, I think there's another shot. Yeah, that Chris Story took here. This is one of my favorites, man. Look at just how tall that is.
And you could see from the one picture that you posted to that one, there's 3 pack outs instead of 4. So when we got to Bradenton, we stopped about 5 minutes into our trip, and I'm like, I don't think we should do this. Like, this car is brand new. Can't tell you how many hours and how much money is in this thing, and I'm going to destroy it by trying to drive it with all this weight on it. So we, some people talked me into still making it to Bradenton. We made it to Bradenton, and I unloaded everything I didn't need. I took an extra impact out of there. Every metric socket I had in there, I took out, left a cooler. I mean, I left everything at Bradenton that I knew I absolutely did not need.
And that's
kept going.
That's awesome. Well, let's talk about, let's keep talking about the car, because I had in there, let's talk about Big 3, but let's talk about Big 3 in a minute. Dude, tell us why, like, why the wagon?
So I wanted to do a drag and drive car for 4 drag and drives. I took my wife's white 4th gen Trans Am, and it was an 850 car. I mean, plenty fine, nothing too crazy, but I wanted to go faster. So I had already had this car, and it was a no prep car with a big block, originally with a 4-liter Whipple. Then I went to the Pro Charger. It was just doing, no prep, like into the track, back into the track, no prep stuff. And I was actually looking for like an old Top Sportsman car or something that was already 6.0 or 650 cert, because anyone that's ever built a car knows it's actually cheaper just to buy one than it is to build from scratch. Well,
and you don't have to wait. You don't have to wait on
100%. So in the meantime, this one was at the chassis shop, and to get a long travel front suspension and, put the fiberglass front clip on it and a bunch of other stuff, and maybe update the cage in it. And one thing led to another, and it was supposed to just be a 750 cage. And then I said, well, if we're doing it, if there's anything else we can do to go a little closer to a 650, then I'll bring it back. Well, it turns out it just ended up being a 650, because by the time you get so close, it's a couple grand more and a few more bars, and you got a 650. So that became, at that moment, once I knew I was upgrading to that cage, I said, this is going to be my drag and drive car. We got to figure out how to put 4 seats in it, because, there's a lot of work to do on this car, especially when we had the roof rack. But I mean, we're changing suspension, like we're knocking ball joints out to change out the front struts every pass. We're pulling the blower off. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that we're doing. So if I got 4 people, plus every time we break down, it's just 3 people to push instead of 1. So I mean, everything we can do, it's so much nicer to have that many people with you, and to be able to like legally sit in there and compete with us is just awesome. We've had the same team since the first sick week. So, I mean, very, very happy about that.
Well, and you talk about like just having people with you. There's no way I could do a drag and drive by myself. I need that conversation, and to have 3 other dudes in there. Oh man, I can
it's just
imagine the conversations going on.
Yeah, it's a riot. I mean, and we're nonstop laughing. Luckily, like the first drag week or sick week, we didn't even have headsets, so we had earmuffs and then just plain out yelling at each other. So, and then I upgraded to the rugged radios where we're able to talk. We got music going. We got the turn by turn directions going. I mean, but it's so much fun. Normally I just look into the passenger seat and see my co-pilot Ray sleeping, but everybody else in the backseat anyways is having a great time. And, it's just so much fun. I told somebody a long time ago that, this is racing, but it's also just driving the countryside with a few of your best friends.
Right.
I mean, it's just a dream come true, really.
Well, and there's a lot of it that I was explaining to somebody the other day. It's really like a race car guy's vacation, right? We don't, if you have a race car that is fast, you don't put it on the street. And so a lot of guys don't. And so, I spend part of my weekends a year with like Pro Mod and top dragster teams and things like that. And it's so weird to me because I'm like, you guys are just here all weekend. This is what we do. Like you just like we need to like bring a cool car and we'll just go drive around or something,
Right.
because you don't you just don't get that camaraderie, man. Everybody says camaraderie all the time, but you don't get that experience of being out and doing big burnouts on the street for people.
Right. Yeah, and it's really it's completely different. I tell a lot of people that too, that the drag and drive stuff is different than any other type of racing. I mean, I've done bracket racing, I've ran with NMCA in the past, I've done heads up small tire radial stuff. I mean, all types of stuff. Not dirt roundy round stuff, but dirt drags. I actually used this car in the dirt drags once, and it was actually almost as fast as my modified turbo Razor, which was insane.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, it's completely different. Everything else, everybody's out to get each other and try to prove themselves and beat the other person. Well, you get a little bit of that, but really, I mean, if the number 1 guy, you're sitting number 2, the number 1 guy needed something, you're going to give it to him. And same thing, if you needed something, he would give it to you if he could. I mean, so I try to tell people that, and like most other racers are just completely, it blows their mind that it's like that, but that's really what it's like.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about the car itself. Tell us a little bit about the build, kind of engine setup and all that stuff.
So yeah, it's a 81 Pontiac Grand Le Mans Safari wagon. So it's always a mouthful, but I guess you don't have to say the wagon because that's technically what the Safari is, but just to make sure everybody understands, it's actually a station wagon. But it is a pretty traditional big block Chevy. It's a 540 cubic inch with a world block. I just upgraded to Brodix hip 380 heads, so that's new this year. I got the Thompson billet intake on it, Manton push rods. The Pro Charger, I had a F3 112 all of last year. So over the off season, with the head upgrade, we also changed the Pro Charger to a 130. So we're finally maxing it out. At 35 pounds of boost, we finally maxed out the 112, which was remarkable on such a big engine. But it does have a Winberg billet crank, aluminum rods, Wiseco pistons. So I mean, it's a pretty solid setup up front. We were running a Power Glide all up until this past weekend. We actually went to a close ratio 3-speed to help keep the boost up there, which was a tremendous help. It just took a few passes to kind of get a handle on it, but we were able to get that figured out. But 9-inch rear end, I got Viking coilovers on it, Holly Dominator, Rewired the car a couple times last year, but just because we had to rush it for the first sick week and then came back and completely did it again. But we got the ECU masters, ECU or PMU in there controlling everything. So that's been a huge help too. I'm able to program stuff like the brake controller and assign different circuits to different things just with my laptop and make the way it works differently,
cool.
like turn signals and horn and all that stuff is just really, really cool.
Yeah.
And then, so you were talking about struts on the front earlier, swapping those out. Do you also change rear shocks?
So on the rear, I did for the first sick week, and then I ended up building in a thing where I can pop an airbag in and out. So it's like the same airbag people put on the back of their F-250s or 350s. I think it's rated at 5,000 pounds. So I've been using that, and then we can adjust it depending on how much weight we have in it. And I also use that for trailering the car. So you're not putting all that extra stress on everything in the back, and then just kind of lock it out that way. The other thing I was going to mention too, that a lot of people probably don't know. So I switched over from E85 to methanol, and however, everything the car does, anytime it's not in boost, it's running on 93. So I have dual fuel rails, dual fuel systems, dual injectors, but where a lot of people change their lines and switch valves and all that stuff, I don't. So I roll up into the burnout box, I'm on 93. As soon as I hit the gas, the computer automatically switches over to methanol. I do my burnout. When I back up, it's on 93. Then the same thing. So when I take the trans brake, it immediately switches over to methanol. So I don't have to worry about milking the oil and all that stuff either, which is super nice. And I go through like a gallon of meth a pass compared to 2 or 3 with all the idle time.
Well, that's awesome. And I love the technology that people are using for that. You know what I mean? Like a full secondary fuel system. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago with the Deechworks guy. Like that's a big deal because you're not burning all that methanol, but then two, like there's no big switchover. There's no drain the tank, put it in, then oh shit, I forgot. When you get up to the line, now you've got to, there's no way you would go back to the pits, especially at an event like sick week, drag week, where you may not get a second pass in that run series.
Right. No, absolutely. I mean, like I said, we have a lot to do. That's one less thing we have to do. If anything, we have to drain a little bit of 93 out just to make the weight bias right, because I got an 18-gallon fuel cell back there. But I mean, I really try to just make it as easy and effortless as possible. And that was one of the things that we decided to see if we could make it work, and it did. So we've kind of stuck with it, all last year, and then still going strong with it this year.
Are you on a mechanical pump or a electric pump for the meth?
I have a mechanical pump, a Waterman. It's like 18 or 19 gallons per minute, and it's ran off the ProCharger drive, which I take off on the drive anyway. So that fuel pump stays there, and it's just kind of zip tied out of the way when I'm taking the drive. So we don't drain the methanol or anything. It's just kind of sitting up there, but we don't have it pumping through the fuel rails or anything like that.
Yeah, and I see Jay here was asking the same question. Are you using an electric clutch on the Waterman pump, or are you putting the belt on and off? So you probably just
so it's all part of the ProCharger drive. So it's a belt encased in a chunk of billet. So it's 2 bolts that pops right off, and it's a V-band. So I mean, I'm already taking the blower off, so it's an extra 30 seconds to pop that fuel pump drive off. So it's super nice.
How cool. Man, that's awesome. The reason that I went down that road there was trailer burnouts, because I'm sure the car has no problem doing burnouts on the street on 93, but
right.
How do you have like a 93, 91, 93 tune in there, and it knows not to think it's on methanol?
Well, so the methanol doesn't do anything until you get boost. So right about 1.5 pounds of boost, it starts to transition. Then it's all in by 2 pounds. So it's very quick acting. However, since we don't have a ProCharger on it at the time, driving on the street, it'll never see boost. I just actually put a cone filter, where the ProCharger goes, so it would never see it. However, I'm like the guy to do trailer burnouts normally. I have yet to do one in this car, and I don't know if I sabotage myself, but I only put 50-pound injectors in it for the 93. So I don't think even naturally aspirated, the 50-pound injectors would be enough.
You're pretty smart, man.
So,
plus at like 5,000 pounds, with everybody and all the stuff in it, like that could be that could be
Yeah,
detrimental to some
it could be.
driveline stuff.
No, 100%.
Yeah. Well, we're seeing that more and more, where cars are getting faster, and so you end up with, we're relying on these guys running these, 9 and 10 second cars to do burnouts for us, man. That's
Right.
so if you've
Yeah,
got
when
9 and 10, 12 second cars, you're our burnout kings.
I used to do the biggest trailer burnouts with my wife's car, and I mean, we're talking like 1,000 foot long burnouts without a problem at 90 plus miles an hour. But uh, that was a little different. I actually did once with a cracked crank on day
Nice.
4, and then continued to drive it with 5 psi of oil pressure, lay down a couple more 8-second passes, and then tell her she needs new turbos, new motor, and everything else. So really did it in on that one.
That's awesome.
Well, let's switch gears here a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about Big Three racing. Do you want to give us a little history on all of Big Three, how that kind of came about and stuff like that?
Yeah, so I mean, we started back in January 1st of 2007. So I mean, we've been doing it for quite a while now, and
Wow.
we all went to school together, and we all had this dream. Hey, we don't want to work for somebody else when we get done with this. We went to college for building race cars. So when we got back and done with school, we said, let's do something. So, and we had all kinds of stuff and nowhere to put it. We all moved back in with our parents. So we got a little 3,000 square foot shop and worked with jacks and jack stands, no lifts. I mean, we had no capital or anything like that. So I actually sold a truck to get the down payment on the shop and
Wow.
kind of made it work. And from then it just kind of kept growing. We moved a couple times and kind of touch base on what we do. We really do anything American V8, V10, rear wheel drive. And now with the all wheel drive stuff, we do some of that stuff as well. But we do a lot of Vipers, a lot of Hellcats and stuff, EFI tuning, a lot of fabrication stuff, no cages and no body work. But I tell everybody everything but that we'll do.
Yeah.
And, we'll do complete rewire jobs and, like I said, turbos and all kinds of stuff. We sell a lot of parts as well. But yeah, last year, we actually had a catastrophic fire. And I mean, it just total loss. That was back at end of July last year. So, I mean, everything pretty much burnt to the ground. We have a video on our YouTube page of it that it took a little bit to edit and to make, because it was pretty heartbreaking to see everything.
Mm-hmm.
So we did that, and we've actually been working on a new shop, and that's all day today. That's what I was doing. We're actually putting one of the dynos in the ground, so that was exciting, and transporting that. But yeah, you can see it there. That is our new facility, and it's actually located at Dragway 42 in West Salem, Ohio. You can see the track. We're 500 feet from the starting line, just under 500 feet from the starting line is our front door.
Right.
So,
and that's what I want people to understand about this picture. You're looking at this picture and it's like, oh, it's out in the country. And then you flip it to the other side. That's
yeah.
literally the drag strip.
Oh yeah. And it's not just any drag strip. We've been racing there since before it changed hands and before it was renovated. So back in, I think, like 2015 or so, there's a huge renovation on it. I mean, they actually turned the track the other direction. And I mean, I couldn't tell you how much money they sank into it, but it is one of the best tracks and best surfaces I've ever been on. And to be able to be a part of that, and we sponsored that track heavily. We've always raced at that track, but to actually be now like on the facility, like at the facility, is absolutely amazing. So we're going to have a lot of parts in stock for racers. We have met with some of them, but especially all the bracket racers and stuff like that when they do the points weekends. We're going to stock all the Holley fuel pumps and some tires and some fuel and all that stuff. But to be able to have all that at the track is going to be, I think, a game changer, let alone if somebody needs something welded or something like that. I mean, we're going to have 7 welders there. So, and all that capability. But one big thing, so we've always had 2 dynos, not always, but we've had 2 dynos for some time, 2-wheel drive and an all-wheel drive. So the biggest thing we're adding now is actually a hub dyno, so a mainline 6,000 horsepower capable hub dyno. So to have a hub dyno at a racetrack where somebody can come out of town, test on the dyno before they hit the track, and then go the next day or the next day after that, or even same day, and run their car down the racetrack, down a full quarter-mile racetrack, I think is going to be something kind of unheard of.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's very, very few facilities that would be on site like that. I mean, I can't, I literally can't think of any, performance oriented shops that are on site of the drag strip.
Right.
Right.
Especially, I really want to like just to hit on how phenomenal of a track it is too. Like it'd be
Hmm.
different if you just had, a little 8th mile track, which I'm not knocking. I mean, the little
Yep.
homegrown, 8th mile tracks are important to everybody. But to be able to have something like this on a premier facility
Yeah.
that people are going super fast on is just, really awesome.
Well, and to be able to, I mean, literally fix it in on site, like, if somebody breaks a bar or something like that, that they could wheel
Yeah.
it
I
over there.
mean,
So
yeah,
are your new
absolutely.
hours like Wednesday through Monday? Are you gonna take any time off, or are you guys gonna be just balls out 24/7,
I
three
don't.
sixty five now?
Definitely not something we thought of 100% yet. So for now, we're going to keep the Monday through Fridays, and then
Yep.
probably a part-time guy there on at least the big event weekends.
Yep.
So that's kind of how we're going to play it by ear. I do live 9 miles from the track, so
Oh,
it
nice.
might be something where track management calls me if they need in, or somebody needs something, and I can get somebody over
Yeah.
there. But yeah, we're going to kind of play it by ear. It's hard to say, to have somebody full time there on the weekends.
Oh, yeah.
Like if you're not needed, then it's going to be hard to justify that. But
Yep.
if there's a need for it, we'll definitely be there and help the customers or help all the
Yeah,
racers.
So
that's pretty awesome.
how did the conversation come about to actually build at the racetrack?
So, like I said, we've had a really good relationship with the what now is actually the previous owners of the track, but we were actually talking about it the January prior to the fire, saying, "Hey, someday we should do this." And everybody, they were extremely excited about it. Said, "Well, give us a year or two, and probably 2 years, and we'll make that a priority, and we'll make that happen." So it was
Wow.
kind of already in the works. And then, actually, the day after the fire, that was on a Friday. That Saturday, we had a huge radial small tire race that we heavily sponsor and we're going to compete in. And I seen the owner down there on the starting line, so obviously I walked up to him and like, yeah, you have to talk a little bit and see if we can move this timeline up a little bit because
Yeah.
when it's a huge facility, so you're looking at almost 20,000 square feet, and you don't want to move again. So I told him, this is our one chance to do this because we have to
Hmm.
rebuild. We only have so much time to rebuild or move somewhere. So we have to do this now or we're not going to do it. So luckily he really understood that and said, okay, let's do it. So I kind of, and you can, we have all the videos of the shop build so far, to date and on our YouTube page, but you can see like the blueprints. Like I did that by hand on my kitchen table, and I did them probably 20 times on a piece of poster board and making changes, had little cutouts of cars and lifts and, where the dynos were going to go, everything to scale. So I could try to figure it out, kind of almost build our dream facility.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah,
I'm
we're so
dropping
excited
the
about
link
it.
here. Yeah, I'm dropping the link in the comments for
Okay.
folks to your YouTube channel. Super cool stuff, man. I love it. I think I'm hoping this opens the door to a lot of facilities to be able to do something similar to this. I think it'd be really awesome for tracks across the country because one, I mean, it gives them another reason for people to come to the track, right? They're there picking up parts that you guys ordered for them. They're getting their car built. They're dynoing their car. It just the more people can drive through that front gate of that track, the better, or the
No,
back gate,
100%.
whatever.
No, yeah. And I think it's going to be really cool. If somebody's there dynoing their car or picking up their car or waiting for their car to be serviced or whatever it is. If there's a track rental going on, which is almost every day at this track,
Hmm.
that, they could see it, they could probably wander over and watch, so I mean,
Yeah.
just, and even for our employees, I mean, they are so stoked to be able to eat their lunch at the 8th mile, at the stripe and watch cars go down or whatever. Like that's,
Yeah.
it kind of hits you like from our dynos, like our dyno building, actually any of the buildings from the door, you can see the scoreboards. So
Oh,
like,
man.
Nice.
even if you can't see the car, leave the starting line because it is sunk down. Like it's the like an amphitheater set up
Hmm.
racetrack. And whenever you're inside the building, you can watch the time slip or see the towers. I mean, or the
How cool.
yeah, it's just really, really awesome.
That's really cool. Man, let's wind down here. We got about another 6 or 8 minutes. I want to
Yep.
talk about you messaged me a couple months ago, and we were trying to put together that you now hold or were shooting for the centrifugal blower record, right? And
Yeah.
I think you
So
took that with Sick Week, right?
correct. Yeah, I was really shooting for it the original sick week or my first sick week, but I was limited to my license. I wasn't able to get my license passes in, so I had to lift every day and just coast to right around 750 to 775. So I know I didn't get it at that point. And then for drag week, I finished with a 728 average, I think it was, or 27 average, which I believe set the record. I couldn't find anything that said otherwise. And then for this sick week, I reset it again. And I'm sure somebody will say otherwise if I didn't actually do it, then it'll just force me to go even faster. But we went just a little bit faster with a 26 because of where we're at. We were really slow all week, but we were consistent. You know, sick week this year was a little messed up at that day one and only getting one pass and really messed a lot of people up. So I was trying not to be one of those people all week and just play it safe.
Well, let's talk about Sick Week for a minute because that day one did throw some wrenches, man. I mean, we saw like one story of the big wrench is Tom Bailey. He's
Oh
out there
yeah.
a lot of testing on that car, trying to get ready for it, looking for a 5 second, crosses the center line, and now ends up, he goes and buys a car. Now he's a cheap car challenge racer.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, and I was actually talking to him in the hotel lobby at the bar the night before that, and he said if I don't run a 5 every day, I'm going to sell the car. You know, so like, you know, knowing that he couldn't, you know, I knew he wasn't going to take it on after watching that pass and him crossing center. I knew he wasn't going to compete all week. There was just there's no way he was going to try to turn in a 20 on day one because you know he has a goal in it, just like we all do. And his goal is to have a 5 second average.
Yeah, and I want to commend him, man. It'd have been real easy for him to go, oh well, hey, we're not counting day number one because not everybody got their passes in, but they
Right.
didn't. I mean, they did. Obviously they're running an event that's more than just Tom Bailey running fives. So big
Nope,
shout out to
100%.
them. And then now he's got this other Camaro. Who knows what's going to happen with it? I'm sure it's going to come out and be fast. And those guys driving cheap cars has lit the world on fire with cheap car
Oh, it's so
challenge.
much fun. I mean, it makes us want to
Yeah.
do the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody should have a car they don't care about at some point in their life.
Right, 100%.
So let's talk about day one of Sick Week. What'd you run? And then obviously you said you ended up with a 726 average, so you had to get down from there.
Yeah, I mean, really, every day it was like a bracket car. So every day I went like a mid 720 to a
Wow.
728, I think was my worst time. And my best was like a 21 or 22. But, you know, I was real nervous about spinning and not getting a second pass. So
Mm-hmm.
our first pass every day was going to make it count. So we only went like a 7 or a 126, 128, 60 foot. So super slow compare, you know, I've been 110 in the car before. So, you know,
Wow.
it just, yeah. So we were running really slow, only like a 479, 475 to the eighth. And just, we are still mile an houring pretty good, you know, in the mid 190s. So
Mm-hmm.
that was good. It just, again, and Devin Vanderhoof with his Mustang was, you know, leading with like a 630 average in our class. So we had no chance of beating him. He'd have to
Mm-hmm.
have the worst day ever for us to beat him. So, let's just secure our number 2 spot and
Yeah.
stay ahead of number 3. And that's all we did all week. Again, not the best way to do things to try to go fast, but at the end of the day, it's all about, or at the end of the week, it's about finishing
Well,
and
yeah, I mean,
trying to
it's
place.
survival. Get to the end of the week.
Right.
And I think that's where like these guys in the pro mods and stuff that I hang out with sometimes they don't understand that. They're like, man, what are you talking about? Surviving. I'm like, yeah, but imagine trying to make passes in that car every day after you've driven it 300 miles, especially like
Right.
day one of Sick Week, man, I think 30 cars fell out just because of the drive.
Oh, it was brutal. We got in at almost, I think it was 5:50 in the morning,
Yeah.
and it was absolutely brutal. You know, and like speaking of like the modified, like I won the modified class at Drag Week, and I kept pushing the car. We made a couple extra passes every day. It wasn't necessarily a one and done, but we were trying to stay in number one. So when you're already at number two, there's no point in really pushing on the car because you still have limited runs on a car or on the motor or whatever you're doing. So you got to really try to make everyone count and don't spend, unless you're trying to for number one. But I know I wasn't going to be able to easily with Devin. So
yeah. Yeah, well, let's spend a little bit here. Let's talk about Sick at the Rock because again, we host a circuit which is a regional event. I love regional events. I think the weekend deals are a great way to bring in a ton of new people to the sport and community. So tell us how that went. Tell us how much fun you had. Obviously, you come home with a couple trophies, and that's always a big plus too.
yeah, actually, it'll be 3 trophies. Just one's in the mail. They cleared
Nice.
that up right after I left, and I wasn't turning around. So, but yeah, so this I've done a couple with Tom Bailey whenever he did like the invitationals at like an NHRA race or NMCA race. So I've done 2 of those, and it was part of 3 of those total. But so this was definitely a little bit different. But I think I don't know if you're thinking about getting into drag and drive, this type of event is for you because one, you can test out your vehicle unlike any other way. Because if you're like anybody else, or especially like me, you take your car around the block, you go 5 miles and you're like, okay, it'll make it 1,000, where this will actually make you go 50, at least, or whatever it is. But and then being able to come back to the same track, like I still took a couple things with me just in case, because you could have problems. And we were able to go get lunch together, and it's just I don't know, it's just a lot different. But the run order was, or the running itself was really smooth and easy. The fact that he puts up over $30,000 to win just in the drag and drive portion of the race is unreal. It's $1,000 per category. I mean, that's we don't do drag and drives to make money. Everybody,
right,
everybody
you're
knows
in the wrong
that. That's
business.
done one.
Yep.
No, 100%. Like all these bracket racers and heads up racers, like why would you do that? And so then you have to explain to them how awesome it is. But it's hard to get people to understand it unless they do one. But,
right.
yeah, no, it's I mean, we're ready for Sick on the Green too. I mean, I'm excited for that one. It's a little closer to us. It's only 420 miles from us, so that one's a little closer compared to 600 miles away. But the fact that you're able to win money or win an award like this instead of just having predetermined classes, I think is a great idea. Let alone all the other pro mod classes and all the other classes that he has,
like the traditional drag race stuff. And that's what I thought was pretty neat, was like giving trophies like this. Like this is for the quickest 4-door and then quickest supercharger. What's your third trophy that you're gonna get?
So that was actually most consistent, and
sweet.
that was a fluke. But yeah, we turned in a 557 pass, or 457, and then we turned in a 455.38 and then a 455.18. So we were 2 thousandths of a second between the 2 passes I turned in. And
how cool.
Yeah, it wasn't on purpose. Nobody tries to have a 450 street race, street car, but that's consistent. But I did. So it worked out well.
That's awesome. Well, man, that kind of wraps up. Tell everybody where they can follow you guys. And listen, I want to have all you guys on. I think maybe you and Bob and Rick on would be a great guest.
No, that would be, we would love to do that someday. But yeah, you can follow us on Facebook, just Big Through Racing, Instagram, and then also our YouTube page. So we actually have a video dropping this weekend about our first day of testing it, Sick at the Rock, and then right after that will be our other the actual event, and then we have another build video coming out next week as well, coming out on the building, so in the whole new shop.
How cool. Awesome. And big shout out to Matt Zelenko, who does a lot of your stuff. He follows you guys on the Sick events and Drag Week and stuff like that. Him and I ended up in a van together, slept in the van.
I was going to say, I thought you guys rode together one day. So
yeah. Yep.
No, that's awesome. He's awesome. He's been great.
Yep. Yeah, he's a good dude. Well, man, thank you so much for coming on tonight. I appreciate it. We got to get rolling with this show, but listen, I do want to have you guys back on, and man, let's go like an hour and a half with all three of y'all. I think that'd be a ton of
Yeah,
fun.
no,
Really
absolutely. Yeah,
nitty
you guys
gritty
have a
on
good
these
night.
Gen 3 Hemis and stuff.
Oh yeah, no, we can do that. I appreciate it, guys.
Awesome,
Yep,
man.
thanks.
Thank you so much. How cool, man. I really like those guys. They really are having a blast all the time whenever you're talking to them. See them in the pits, all that kind of stuff. They're having a good time. And the cars they build are super cool. I mean, a Gen 3 Hemi Fox body that's got turbos. You've got Rick's Duster, and then you've got this crazy wagon we were just talking about with Chuck. So super
Yeah.
cool to see them and them be out and about and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, one thing I'll have to ask him next time because I know we're close on time, but I was always wondering what kind of reaction he gets when he pulls into the gas station with that thing. It's gotta be
I
fun.
wonder if it's man, my mom had one just like that, but without the zoomies.
Yeah,
Yeah,
awesome.
all the time. All right, man, let's rock through this here. Again, big shout out to Molly Motorsports. They've been on board for a long time. Love those guys over there. They are amazing. Scott and Eric and Adam. A message today asking if Adam is going to be at the Circuit 2025 round 2, and hopefully, fingers crossed, or maybe we need to give them some peer pressure. So if you would love to see Molly at the Circuit, please let us know over there in the comments, because I know Adam had a great time last year. So again, thanks to them. All right, let's roll, man. Deech Works.
All right, Deechworks is a leading manufacturer of high-performance fuel system components. The DW product line includes fuel injectors, fuel pumps, pump modules, fuel rails, regulators, filters, lines, and fittings, plus surge tanks, all engineered to support power levels ranging from 400 all the way up to 2,200 horsepower. Since its founding, Deechworks has been committed to delivering quality, innovation, and precision to the automotive performance industry. Every DW product is built to maximize reliability and efficiency, ensuring optimal fueling solutions for racers, tuners, and performance enthusiasts worldwide. With a focus on engineering excellence and industry-leading customer support, Deechworks continues to drive the future of high-performance fueling.
All right, love the DW team over there, and I can't wait, man. Eric's been talking to uh, Mark over there about the fuel system for the Mustang. Man, it's going to be exciting to get that thing rolling as we go here. Well, let's talk about Road Trip Drag Challenge number 1, dude. We've got to blow through these quickly because we got Ryan backstage, so I'm excited about this. So, Class A 275 Outlaw Blown Limited. Corey Watson in a Holden Commodore wins that class.
Yep, Class B 275 Outlaw Aspirated Limited, Michael Conway in a Chevy Camaro.
Yeah, and again, Road Trip Drag Challenge is in Australia, so you're going to hear some names you don't usually hear. 265 Street Radio Blown Limited. I don't know what 265 means. Tim Cross in a Ford TF Cortina.
Yep, you got me. The 265 Street Radial Aspirated, Glenn Young with a Holden WB Ute.
Man, that's why we got to go to Australia is for the Utes. We got Street Radio Blown Limited, Dean Wilson in a Holden EK Ute.
I don't know the difference between a WB and an EK, but we've got 235 Street Radial Aspirated Limited, Brian Heffler in a Ford Cortina.
Yep, right, and then in True Street Blown. So for everybody, blown means obviously boosted in some sort of fashion. Rowan Ellum in a Chrysler Centura. Sounds like a cool car. Got to be an old one, man.
Yeah. In the True Street Radial Aspirated, Column Fu and a Holden HG.
And then Emma Johnson wins the DYO class, and I think she's done that a couple times from other events in a Holden VNSS, which is the sedan.
Yep. And then we've got the manual open aspirated, which was Stephen Falzone in a Ford 1938. I'm assuming that's like an old Roadster that somebody had.
Yeah, that sounds freaking cool. And then in the manual open blown, you got Ryan Feakin in a Bullet Roadster.
Yep. And then finally, the open outlaw blown was Scott Huffman in a Toyota Corolla.
We got to find a picture of that.
Yeah.
That is definitely something we got to find a picture of. So if you guys are looking for results for there, you can obviously find that Road Trip Drag Challenge #1. A big shout out to Mick and the team over there for hosting a great event. Looked like they had a blast, man. And you
Yeah.
can see tons and tons of cars.
Yep. You can see all the results. We just hit the winners of each class, but all their results are posted. So head over and check those out.
Yeah. Awesome stuff. All right, let's talk about Sick at the Rock. Obviously, we just had Chuck on discussing that, but read us this here because this is pretty cool to go into right into this.
Yeah, they posted this on their Facebook page. Sick the Magazine did. This was awesome. The world's quickest side-by-side street legal car race in history. So Lutz had a 384 at 196 to Bailey's 386 at 206.
Man,
That's so awesome.
that's badass. Yeah, 3 second street cars that's where it's at, man.
Right.
That is
Yeah.
where it's at. There were pro mods that I was watching this weekend that are dedicated race cars that didn't run that.
Right. No kidding. So we'll do the same thing here
Yep.
with the 6 streetcar challenge. So the quickest Chevrolet was obviously Jeff Lutz in the 69 Camaro with 3.8463 at 195.8.
That's awesome. Yeah, quickest Ford, Houston McLean. Big shout out to Houston. 2014 Mustang with a 544 at 125 miles an hour.
Yep. And then quickest Pontiac, Nathan Chesler in an 08 Pontiac G8 with a 6.773 at 111.4.
Nice. And then quickest Mopar, Mr. Rick Trunk at Big 3 Racing right there. 72 Plymouth Duster with a 485 at 151.
Quickest Buick was Michael Leon's in an 87 Buick Grand National, which we've seen that car at plenty of events before. 5.193 at 135.9.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. Quickest Oldsmobile is Daniel Watts, 72 Oldsmobile Hearst with a 848 at 81 miles an hour.
Yeah,
So that's a big shout out to all you Oldsmobile fans out there. If y'all want to rack that up, that may be a good class.
Yeah. Quickest AMC is Jacob Davis, 72 Javelin, 6.854 at 102.4.
Big shout out to Jacob. Quickest stick shift, Mike Finnegan. Go Finnegan. 55 Chevrolet Bel Air, 5.53 at 129.
Yep. Quickest NA small block was Thomas Palmer, 85 Ford Thunderbird, 7.334 at 92.9.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Quickest small block, Eric Yost. Man, this car crazy. 68 Camaro, 490 at 153.
Yep. We got quickest NA big block, which is Casey Banner, 1964 Chevy 2 at 6.60 at 105.3. And that is your Drop the Hammer North Carolina promoter right there.
Right. And then quickest big block, Mr. Jeff Lutz, 69 Camaro, 384 at 195.
Quickest turbo, again, Jeff Lutz, same car, same times.
Quickest supercharged car, we just talked about this with Mr. Chuck, 81 Pontiac Safari wagon there, 455 at 160 miles an hour.
Yep. I deleted this one. This was quick as something. I don't know which one this was. James Burnthorne Jr. In a 2019 Dodge Hellcat, 6.33 at 115.4. Sorry, I don't know what category that was.
That's awesome. They can find all this stuff, I'm sure, on sickthemagazine.com as well. Quickest 235 radial. Love this class right here. Justin Lynch, 66 Nova, 627 with a 1 at 127 miles an hour.
Yep. And the quickest 275 radial, Mr. Graham Hayes, also in a 66 Chevy Nova with a 4.163 at 183.7.
Man, Graham's car is it's badass. It just gets down. Quickest 6-cylinder, again, Michael Lyons. Big shout out to him. 87 Grand National with a 519.
Yep. Quickest 4-door, again, Chuck Stefanski, 81 Pontiac, 455 at 160.4.
Hey, how about this? Quickest with the tailgate. Tailgate class is coming around, man. Maddie Batson, 2000 S10 with a 740 with a 1 at 90 miles an hour.
Quickest hot rod, Corey Hoagland A 1934 Ford Coupe is 6.358 at 108.5.
Yep. And then quickest gasser, Mr. Mike Finnegan, 55 Chevrolet Bel Air, known as Blasphemy, 5.53 with a 5 at 129 miles an hour.
Yep. Best street race average, which was a 535 average or above, up to a 735 Houston McLean in that 2014 Ford Mustang, 5.44 at 125.8.
Yeah. And then best street race average, 736 or above, is Yvonne Hutchins, 14 Chevrolet SS, 736 at 92 miles an hour.
And the best reaction time average was Gavin Black in a 2011 Ford Mustang with a 0.0090 reaction time.
Average, bro.
Average. Yep. And that was
Crazy.
with a 5.55 at 128.2.
Man, that's crazy. That's amazing. Most consistent, again, like Chuck said earlier, 81 Pontiac Le Mans 455, and had a difference of 0.002, so 0.002 of a second difference between his two passes that they got on Saturday. Pretty cool,
Yeah.
man. I love the thought of big time promoters like Sick and like Rocky Mountain Race Week, Matt Frost. They're dipping their toes into some weekend stuff this year as well. So it's going to be kind of cool, man. I tell you, regional events are the gateway drug, man.
Right. And then a couple lines here from the SICTA magazine post regarding some of the other classes. Obviously, starting off, Lutz took the overall win with an average of 3.845, which was a terrific comeback after he broke a rod testing on Thursday.
That's crazy. That dude's not scared. Dwight Osmus set a new small tire pro stock record of 7.549 on his way to the win when opponent John Langer's car refused to start for the final round. That's gotta suck.
Yeah, that's tough. Logan Day claimed a big share of the 5K street race 860 payout when Paul Sosinski, yep,
Yeah, I don't know.
Paul Redlet in the final.
Dang. Yeah, that name's got too many vowels in it. Nostalgia Superstock muscle car was also decided on a red light when Bill Boomhauer went negative 007 against Dave Horton. Man, that sucks.
Yeah. Scott Lang claimed victory in the Rock Pro Mods, defeating a loose pass from Mike Decker Jr.
Oh, man. Mike Decker Jr., Hollywood. Oh, no, sorry. That's the third. No, Mike Decker Jr. All right. Coyote Stock and Open Comp decided to split earlier in the night, electing to get on the road early as the night wore on. Pretty cool, man.
Yep. So big thanks to SICTA Mag for posting all that information. Definitely, since we weren't there, gives us a great recap of the event.
Yep. And shout out to Derek Putnam, who will be on next week to discuss Sick at the Rock and then upcoming Sick on the Green. So that'll be kind of fun to get his perspective from that. And then, obviously we're a few days removed from the event. And with that amount of time, it's going to just give people more time to tell stories and Derek to come up with a lot of that. So planning about 45 minutes for him. And, we're going to struggle to make 45 minutes with Derek.
For sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, again, thank you so much to the Deechworks family. We appreciate them being a part of the brand here at Drag Drive Repeat. They are the official fuel delivery of Drag Drive Repeat. Let's get rolling here. Guys, thank you so much again for being our race car friends. Hit the share button. We've got another about 48 minutes here, maybe another hour of time. We're going to bring on Ryan here in just a few minutes, and we can't do all this without you guys. So hit the share button. Thank you very much. Thank you to our sponsors for making all this possible: Summit Racing, Deechworks, Molly Motorsports, Driven Racing Oil, Howard's Cams, J-Wire Solutions, Waft Racing, PerformaBuilt Transmissions, Car Change 3D, Power Tube TV, Sweet Patina, and Racing Junk Classifieds. If you guys are spending money, please try and spend it with them. We would appreciate that. And if you want to get involved in this, we can. You say we've got room there on that sheet. We can add you to the board as well. The gentleman's agreement is simply this: we love doing this right here. It's fun to me. I love talking about this stuff. I love the Drag and Drive community, and you guys are amazing. So we're going to keep doing this, but what we need you to do for the other side of the gentleman's agreement is just hit that follow or subscribe button wherever you're watching this at. Make sure you are being caught up on everything that you see here. Obviously, we can't verify that you do that. So that's where it's a gentleman's agreement. We'll keep doing this. You do that. We'll all go on and be happy. PowerTube TV. Did you see the news? Pinks is back, baby. I'm so excited. Bruno Massel is going to be the host for that show. It's going to be bad to the bone. This is a big deal for PowerTube. They are spending a ton of time and money growing this. It's huge, man. There's tons and tons and tons of stuff on there. Obviously, our show is on PowerTube TV. You can see here just on the picture if you're watching. They've got race shows, they've got racing, they've got tech shows where people build stuff, they've got how-tos, they've got off-road. Man, it's really everything everything you want in an app to watch. If you don't know what to watch on TV and you're searching for stuff, just go to PowerTube, man. Just go to PowerTube. It'll be great.
Yeah, I've seen all kinds of posts of people building cars specifically for Pink, so I'm excited.
Well, it's a winner take all 16 car field.
Yeah.
You're gonna win 16 cars or 15 cars. That's crazy. Absolutely wild. All right, man. Let's roll. WAF Racing, my buddy in Nashville, Mr. Chris Wozniak. Man, hit that video for us.
Have you ever wished you could fit your toolbox in the palm of your hand, or really needed that extra set of hands while making a jet change at the track? At WAF Racing, we specialize in designing and manufacturing top-tier automotive tools that are made strong to withstand travel, yet lightweight not to slow you down. Tested in-house and at the track by the team at WAF Racing, every part is made by racers for racers. From compact toolkits, carburetor top hats, or spark plug storage containers, our tools are precision engineered and manufactured in the USA. Made of the strongest materials, every piece strikes the perfect balance of durability and dependability. Maybe you need something custom just for you. We do that too. You need WAF Racing in the passenger seat for your next drag racing event. Head over to wafracing.com today to take your racing experience to the next level. WAF Racing. Design, build, race.
And with Dad picking up the new 307, it is carbureted. I told him that we're going to be talking to WAF Racing for some stuff for his car. And speaking of, while we're on the live stream, I don't know if you can see this. I don't know. He just went and got a new electric water pump. He is just collecting all the parts. Did I tell you that he's kind of excited about this?
Dude, y'all please drive it on the 6 Summer if it's running with the new motor, please.
Yeah.
Just at least for a couple days, like maybe just to Byron and back or something if there's no road miles on it. I'm so excited for y'all to do this, man. It's going to be so cool.
Yeah, I'm excited for him. I just can't wait to see the look on his face when it starts up and runs. And the first time he gets in and drive it, it's gonna be amazing.
Oh yeah, that is so cool. All right, man. Let's talk about this. Obviously, you guys are going to have parts. It's carbureted, so you got to have the toolkit. And now you got to figure out how to do all that stuff. Do you remember how to tune carburetors?
I do not, but thankfully, this is where he's going to teach me some things. Let me tell you.
That's awesome. All right, well, let's talk about these SICK wild cards, man. This is a really cool thing that came out early April from SICK, and the first round of wild cards are available.
Yep. So the first SICK wild cards have been secured at SICK the Rock. The SICK wild cards give racers an early entry invite to SICK Week 2026, presented by Gear Vendors Overdrive. So as the top 3 at SICK at the Rock already had early entry because of the top 100 status, what they did was they moved on to those racers who would have had to fight their way into SICK Week. So again, SICK the Mag doing an incredible job here. Their top 3 didn't need early entry, so they moved on to the next people, which I think is awesome of them to do. So what we have is Jim Treadle with a 4.819 average, Eric Yost with a 4.904 average, and Craig Douglas with a 5.088 average. Those are your very first 3 SICK wild cards.
Yeah, I'm excited. And of course, you guys will remember the circuit is involved in this. Huge surprise. Love that. And just want to say this is a great idea. And I'm hoping that, the winners of it from the circuit are going to take advantage of that and go down to SICK Week.
Yeah, pretty awesome.
All right, let's talk about some PerformaBuilt transmissions. I can't wait to have Ryan on here. This is going to be a blast, too. He is so smart.
Yep. PerformaBuilt is the official transmission builder of Drag Drive Repeat. At PerformaBuilt Transmissions, their goal is to engineer and build the toughest transmissions on the planet. PerformaBuilt doesn't just rebuild transmissions, they systematically re-engineer each model to eliminate OEM flaws and to achieve the highest levels of performance. That's why they say their transmissions are not just built, they are PerformaBuilt.
I know that's right. Well, let's bring Mr. Ryan Snyder in here, owner operator of PerformaBuilt Transmissions. Dude, how are you today? What is going on? And let's get into this stuff, man.
I'm good. I'm very exhausted. It's been a hard, long time with we put out 3 orders, 3 come in. It's just been that way for a year, over a year. So I am beat. So I decided to do this at home today. And first of all, congratulations, Chuck. That drag strip makes me want to have a picnic with the Price family. That is absolutely beautiful, dude. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Yeah. Think about that. Like, how cool is it that they're going to have like not just parts, but also be like a build shop on site with the drag strip? But man, that's just one of the coolest things I think that can happen.
Yeah,
It truly,
I was already thinking at Byron, like where is there a corner that I can reach out and be like, hey, we need to do that same thing.
Yeah.
yeah, and Chuck sounds like he's got this figured out, and even having like an all-wheel drive dyno on, that's unheard of. Like,
Yeah.
just having it there. Yeah, man. Let's. I want to talk about a little 4L80 today.
Yes.
I know that's not normal for me, but I'm getting kind of bored with the 60. Broke the record and all. We're doing some stuff to it. I got something to show you guys here and there with the new machine. We talk about the new machine, talk about some shop, talk about Matt there on screen. We got a lot to talk about tonight.
Yeah, well, let's get into it, dude. One thing that's really fun for me to watch y'all stuff is like obviously transmissions. I say it all the time when you're on here, it's voodoo magic, man. Like people don't understand what goes on in there, but you guys have a pretty good understanding of that stuff.
It is, and it doesn't have to be hard. I like to think of it divided in 2 parts. Okay, you got your like turbo 400, 350 mechanical transmissions, right? And then you got your 4L60, 4L80 electronic, all the way up to the 10L. And they're just 2 totally different animals. And I don't think we learned enough about this, and we learned plenty about this, but there's so much to the tuning and how we do the shift kits and everything over here than it is over there, because you don't have a computer. That's the biggest difference.
Mm-hmm. Right. So when you're talking about tuning, like walk us through what that means. Like, are you softening up the shifts? Like, what are things that you can do to help a 60 or an 80 live?
Okay. So I was actually going to say this to them, but we'll get right into it. One of the things I was going to talk about was how one of my favorite channels, and the guy who actually taught me this, his name is Matt Sanford. He just YouTube Matt Sanford. It's a great tuning if you want to understand anything about it. Anyway, he kind of wrapped it all up for me in my, quest for knowledge. And the 60 and the 80, like we're going to talk about tonight, they're both torque based. It's the same animal, and torque basically comes from airflow. Okay. And people lost their mind when I said the MAF sensor screws up your transmission on the internet. Nobody believes that. But if your injector flow, your MAF, your VE tables are incorrect, all those things and shift pressure translates to milliamps, and that's how it reads it. So if those things are wrong, especially the MAF, that's really messing up how everything's calculating torque. And therefore it's messing up your pressure, and then you fry 3-4, and then you get really upset. So
interesting. Okay.
A lot in the engine. So when you're dealing with the turbo 400 and stuff, you have to worry about one vacuum line. If you got a hole in it, that's your problem. That's it. Otherwise it is the tranny's fault. The electronic stuff, you have so much input, like your engine. Every motor head in the world understands they have 14 gauges that tell them what they do. We got oil, water, this, that. we never have a PSI gauge, and we hardly ever have a temp gauge. And those are the only two things you need with a tranny. And the more you understand it and how it correlates to what the engine's seeing, like throttle position, MAF, how the VE tables are correcting what's actually happening at the mass airflow sensor, and the types of tuning you do. So, I still got
You're
everybody?
over my head, but I love it. I'm picking,
All right.
it up as we're
We're just
going.
gonna keep rolling. We'll throw one example out, and I'm gonna kill it. Let's say we got like a simple turbo truck. Everybody's got a 5.3. So you do like half your injector flow rate to get more resolution cylinder air mass. Okay, you want more air in your fucking cylinder. When you have those tables, you have to go back and have it in the transmission side too. Otherwise, it's going to calculate the totally wrong thing. Even though your engine's running good, this is running like shit. And it's going to slip, burn, break shit, however you've done it with your tables.
Interesting. Okay.
That's how touchy it is. We know everything about engines. We know how to tune them. We know turbos, spark, retard, advance, this, that. All of that eventually correlates to pressure. And if you guys got a misfire or your VE isn't correcting it right and you get like a boost spike or something, it's going to go down the train and cause, a variance in the transmission that it's not going to like. And then on top of that, an engine's steel. It can take some shit. Transmission's paper. You got a couple shots before it's just wiped. Not long.
That's an interesting way to put it. And so that's, I would think, probably why a lot of folks go 400, because it's just going to do what you tell it to. Like it's hey, shift at this point and all that kind of stuff. But when you're talking like 80s and stuff and 4L60s, like it's an entirely new tuning learning process.
It is. And you kind of, the average person doesn't have to understand a lot. Really, what I could tell the average guy is put a PSI gauge in your car, put a temp gauge in your car, and then do your best just to make sure the engine is working the right way and not just full sending with a problem. That's about it. Make sure your map's clean, make sure your throttle positions, you didn't just put it on and not clock it right. Stupid things like that.
Yeah, Jay here is saying, from JY, he's saying most aftermarket computers don't have a MAF, running lots of pressure commands based on TPS and MAP.
Yes, and that's why I like those. And I'm a huge fan of US Shift, Haltech, and Holley. And a US Shift, especially for the carbureted guys, because it basically calculates off of throttle position and output speed and a couple ratios. I do deal with a lot of guys with HP tuners more than I care for, which is why I really bring this up, because stock computers where this stuff gets real complicated. If you guys spend the money and get a Holley, which is like the Fisher price of tuning, it will save you so much money and time. Like, it is worth it in every way. And if something does go wrong with your engine, half the time the transmission's kind of separated. So it's just going to be fine most of the time.
Interesting. But if you don't get the shifting stuff right and don't get the front end stuff right with like a, not necessarily just saying HP tuners, but with a person that's tuning it that may not know what they're doing as well, then, now you've got an engine and transmission.
Yeah, exactly. I've had people blow up both before.
Man,
really,
talk about a bad day.
Yeah, one got bad because it started with a number 7 misfire, and he kept going, and eventually everything collapsed at that point.
Yeah.
Yikes.
So
right. Well, let's talk 80 stuff, dude, because you've been on, we've talked about 4L60 stuff in the past and kind of some of the tips. I mean, if everybody will remember, you actually tore a 4L60 down live on the news one morning that belonged to Howie Price and their wagon. So that was kind of cool to go through 5,500 pound car, drag and drive, goes fast, and you did that right there in front of us. That was pretty neat.
And I was surprised myself. That thing really held up fine. It kind of did what I thought it would. And I even tore down Nick's recently. I'm sure you guys saw his brake launch in third.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't bad either. And I've made fun of him enough for being, father time and not seeing it. But his is on the way back. The prices, speaking of them, I'm really excited to get out there and see the new twin turbo build.
Oh man,
Yes.
yeah.
Which, in my opinion, at this point, I'm not sure we should be running a 60, but we're gonna try it.
I mean, here's the thing: like, if it does not survive, a guy
Mhm.
that can put a 400 together, or go to an 80 or something like that if you need more. If you want to keep the overdrive and electronic stuff.
So I'm bringing that up. Talk about the machine before I get to the 80 because that's some
Yeah.
stuff. I do have like other things I can do to Howie's still that I've never really tried, but I want to. Just a little spoiler, and I won't say what it is, but this goes in a transmission, and it's something we just made, and that will do it. I guarantee that. So,
Interesting.
as
And
a
that's
last
that's what the new machine's for.
yeah, this is a piece of another piece that we're still working on, but basically we're going to make something in there very unbreakable that usually breaks under a lot of weight.
Interesting.
Yeah, I like where this is going.
Right.
But on top of that, on top of new stuff, which is few and far, we got to do a lot of R&D. I'm making just some stuff to stuff doesn't exist anymore. I don't realize it because I'm 35, but the 60's been out as long as I've been alive. And
Oh yeah,
I'm old. I feel like shit. So this
Just
thing
like
is too. And it's sitting outside and I'm not. So all the the shift shafts, for example, these things, we're trying to make parts like this because you just can't get them anymore. And I'm not trying to sell people junk. You know what I mean? Your linkage, your switch slides on this, if it's pitted, rusted, all bent up, yeah, man. So just being more self-sufficient, more or less, is what the machine's bringing.
That's pretty good. Well, right, and then you're you're in control of the tolerance. You're in control of what it does, where it does it, and then how strong it is based on what you need. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, between me and Evan, mostly Evan, with he's usually the operator. He's got this shit figured out.
Yeah,
he seems pretty smart. What's the new machine again?
What's that?
What's the new machine again?
It's like a knee mill or just a mill.
Okay.
Can cut, this way instead of a lathe.
Gotcha.
And
yeah, that's pretty sweet.
Certain things we need it for. Like, I'm not doing it right now. I'm not making anybody any promises, but I am getting interested in the 6L80. I do see potential in it, and we definitely need this machine to cut the bell/pump, which was a stupid design. But yeah, definitely essential for moving on, because someday the 4L is going to be very old and not practical anymore. And all this.
Well, I mean, you start thinking about just electronic side of stuff. Those things are going to be harder to get unless somebody's making them. 6L stuff was out. Now it's, I don't know if it's in cars anymore, but there's millions of 6Ls that are out there. And my brother had a Pontiac G8 that had one, and I mean, it was a full bolt-on car cam and all that kind of stuff, and a good converter, and it acted right all the time. Like, he beat on that car, and it took it, which is really cool. And they talk about how tough they are. So you do that, and you have 6 gears instead of 4.
Yeah, and the more you go, from what I understand and what I've torn apart, and by no means I'm no expert in the 6L at all yet. I'm just learning it, but from what I've observed, they took the best parts of the 60 and the best parts of the 80 and put them together. Nice. Things made out of good aluminum. It has a 60 type pump, which I do like more than the 80. I know I'll get shit for that, but I don't like gear pumps. They're limited. You got to do so much to make them work right. That's the 80s real false suit and a lot of the Fords. The you got to TIG weld like one drum, remove some wave plates that shatter, and otherwise just tune it, and they can hold like 1,000 horsepower with pretty much a simple tune. So
That's
that's
awesome.
good. Yeah, a good converter, some pump work, and a real good tune, and like one Sonax PR valve, from what I understand, will build you pretty solid 6L 9080.
That's pretty cool. So like, as a builder, you're not replacing everything inside to handle, I would say 95% of the cars and trucks that are, hot rods that are out there. You can do that pretty inexpensively, it almost sounds like.
Yeah, a lot of it on like so the 4L has its weak points, and a lot of it is the metal and hydraulics. Every transmission from the factory has the shittiest hydraulics. Like, I mean, down to the 204R. If you just put some 60 parts in it, the 204R becomes the best pump in the world.
Wow.
And that's technology like 20 years, 30 years later. It all fits right in. 700 boost valve and a 13 vein pump. You'll have a mean 204R pump. So the 80's that way too, because it's gear driven pumps. They're good for like oil, for an engine, but trying to pump 200 PSI consistently is pretty hard for it. Now there's things you can do naturally, but with the 6L, other than the pocketed bell housing idea they had, which I don't get yet, the 6L is a 60 pump, which the vane pumps can pump a lot of volume, a lot faster, a lot more efficiently. However, they're more prone to breakage. That's the downside. So a good flex plate, good spacing, and just make sure pretty much you're not misfiring or anything like that. But yeah, I want to learn about this one. If I trailed off there, I apologize.
No. So Jack Weatherford, we were talking about earlier on the show, he sent me some photos here of him camping at Sick at the Rock. Sorry, I just saw it. My phone's been going off like crazy. But big shout out to Jack, who gave me unfiltered access all week at Sick Week. It was pretty cool. But that's a stick shift car, so T56. That's not really kind of in your wheelhouse, but I'm sure you can appreciate manual transmissions as well.
Well,
let's talk
nobody knows this, and I shouldn't say it, but I mean, honestly, the truck's the only automatic I own. All my other cars are stick. All three of them.
That's awesome. Well, if it's kind of like the mechanic always has the stuff that he doesn't really work on all the time.
No, I don't. Like, in that truck, that's just a lifelong project. Now that we bring that up, hold on. There's two things. Okay, we go to the truck. I want to go back to this. The Gen 4 and 5 on the 6L is the same torque-based shit. It just gets a little more complicated. That's all. Now that I've said that, the truck, I've now decided, I got inspiration from, I forget their names. It was the Camaro and the Oldsmobile with the inline 6 Trailblazer engines.
Oh, wow. Atlas 4200.
Yeah,
the American Supras. Yeah.
Jonathan Whitaker and then Calvin Nelson.
Yes, I've checked out their channel. I love it. We yanked one. I want to rip the big block out of the truck now and put one of those in.
Yes.
We just finished it. We haven't even fucking drove it, and here we are going through a motor change.
Yep. Hey, that's the way it goes, man. The 4200 is pretty neat. It's really growing a bunch, and Jeremy Ortiz is putting one in a SN95 Mustang. No, is it SN95? New Edge. Yeah. So yeah, I think that it's interesting enough because like your truck is what, a 51.3? 52. It would have came with a 6-cylinder. So that's kind of neat, to be able to put a 6 back in it and then have one that'll actually handle a bunch of power,
Yeah. So like it came with a 235 with the splasher oiler system, real pitiful son of a bitch. And it just feels like it belongs. Like the big block was cool, but I had to up the springs so much in the front, and it still weighs it down. Like it's like 800 pounds that you're just kind of teeting around with a little Motion Raceworks homemade steering column and tiny wheel. It doesn't feel good. So this makes sense. Lightweight, all aluminum, strong bottom end, great,
Yep.
injector, airflow, everything. On a budget, which that speaks my language.
Right. And super available. And
Yes.
Calvin, he just locks out the VVT on the early stuff he was doing, and then I think lately he's been using the VVT on them to to have like great drivability down low, and then obviously more power up top. I think they made like 1,000 on the stock bottom end, or 900 or something like that on one. So yeah, big fan of that.
It's a lot, and that's going to be the next drag and drive motor. I'll tell you what.
Yeah, let's go. I'm excited about that. And with Drag Week coming right by the shop.
Yeah, I know. That's another thing. Shit, I'm sorry we're not getting to the 80. I'm getting there. But yeah, I really hope they do consider me for Hot Rod Drag Week. We got the shop pretty spiffed up lately. And
somebody tag Mike Galimi.
Yeah, and I have his magazine article right over there, right on the wall.
Yeah. That would be a great reason for them to stop by us. They've already written an article about the shop in Hot Rod Magazine, so now it would be good for them to come by and see it again with the updates.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of updates since. I promise. That was in 2016. He wrote that, so yeah, we're talking 10 years.
Yeah, lots
all
of
right.
stuff.
The moment we've all been waiting for, I guess. I'm going to tell you guys how to, build a 500 to 700 horsepower, maybe a little more if you're chancy, 4L80 for like $500 or less, because everybody's on a budget nowadays. Even if you don't want that power, this is just going to make your 4L80 better, no matter what. And it's very easy to do. One thing, you don't even have to drop the transmission. You can just do it right in the vehicle, and this is probably the biggest thing. So I brought home in my pocket, and my washing machine always sounds like World War II because I have this stuff on me. One of the things is the boost valve of a 4L80. Okay, up here we have a PR valve, and down here in my hand we have a boost valve. Right? These are cheap. They're not expensive parts, and all it takes is a big pair of snap ring pliers to remove it and the pan off. And a little finesse. You need a strong magnet. Sometimes they don't want to come out. That's your job. Figure it out. But normally they just slide. So when I told you earlier about the 4L's pump being pathetic because it's gear driven, along with most transmissions, the biggest mod you can do is take that boost valve out and get yourself a big pressure spring for the 4L80 or Turbo 400, either one. Okay, just one. That's all you need. And these things are like $5. Just throw that in there. Put it right in place of the much tinier stock spring, new spring. Twice the size.
Wow.
Okay, so what that's going to do, it might make if you're looking for comfort, don't do this. I'm talking daily driver. If you just want a little rowdiness or you're, drag racing or whatever, this is the mod for you. This will take your pressure from the pitiful 60 to maybe 140 all the way up to 110 to 220 easily on damn near every 80. That is probably the biggest thing you can do because that's where the 80 suffers the most is the gear driven pump. The other place it suffers is the bushings and gear train. But if you have a really good 80, chances are you don't got to worry about that. It's just around the 300,000 mile mark. If you're junkyarding it, those Teflon seals are going to eat into your drums. It's a guarantee. It's not if, but when. As long as that's good. That's why I say install the PSI gauge. You hit first, it's great. You hit second, you have a 30-pound drop, something's happening. You might want to stop. It's going to get expensive if you keep going.
Interesting. So,
yeah.
On the old truck, I made sure that I had a trans temp gauge, right? That's one thing I figured I needed all the time. But I had not thought about a pressure gauge, so maybe we'll put one of those in.
Yeah, and in your instance is a very relatable topic. So when we're talking boost valve pressure, your engine's trying to correlate that through milliamps to the transmission, all the shit's going on. Meanwhile, Michael has the pump gasket, which is supposed to go between the case and the pump. He has it in between the pump halves.
Yeah.
And therefore
that
the
was
whole
fun.
Yeah, real fun. Nobody would have guessed that shit. The whole middle of the pump's open.
Dude, it really surprises me it even drove.
I'm
I
shocked.
drove it like that for 1,500 miles.
That is someone's watching over you. Straight up. But if you had a gauge in there, your shit would have been fluttering like Flappy Bird, like all the time.
Because like the only way it could have built the required amount of pressure was just simply having too much fluid in there, right? I mean, like
Pretty
at some
much.
point, oh man, yeah, I'm surprised it was even working. But yeah,
fluids. I was gonna say fluid's a magical creature. I mean, that thing could be working and flowing in just the right way to where it's not hurting any other thing too bad, and it could just kind of work. That's why I'm kind of bringing up the 80 on a budget, because the 60, it's very light duty, parts can break, it's very hard to build. You have to time everything right, you have to tune it right. A lot of it is the builder, a lot of it is the tuner. It's really a shared effort. The 80, it is really hard to mess up. It is a strong tranny, it can take it, and just by doing really a boost valve, you have made it twice as good. The other side to this, the other mod that you can do for a lot of power, you know, when we're getting into boost and everything, or even big NA guys, big trucks, things that tow, tractor pulls, shit like this. Dual feed. It's a very popular topic, very commonly known topic. Sloppy Mechanics kind of was the one that did it first. Where way back in the day, I learned a lot from that group. But essentially what you're doing is GM never utilized the whole surface of the direct and forward drum. They only use half the piston, which in hydraulics and transmission, that's bad. We want to use the whole thing because more surface area is more holding power. So we want to double that. Essentially what you do is take parts out of the transmission to make it work better. You take your both drums apart, and the third direct drum, we call third direct. That's just lingo. You would remove the center seal completely after you take the piston out. Just leave it out, put the shit back in, and do your clearance. Everything's good. The next one, the forward drum, which is first, that seal is molded in the drum. You would cut 4 notches or cut the whole thing out if you'd like. It doesn't matter. I do 4 notches. That will let the fluid bleed instead of, I don't know why they sealed off that center, but they did. Now to keep, you've created a problem. Now we got to fix the problem. Okay. You've created a lot of leakage, a lot of area. We fix the problem by going into the case. And this is where I wish I was at the shop. But if you look at a 4L80 case straight on where the valve body vane side is, okay, like you're looking at the belly laying under the vehicle, you're going to see 3 holes, one with a bolt in the middle with a hole in it where the center support is. Turbo 400 has the same thing. Turbo 400 has a center support as well. So a lot of guys will know what I'm talking about. The bolt with the hole through it at where about my nose is across the case there, the bolt with the hole in it, that feeds the intermediate clutch, which is second gear. It also releases that oil. There's 2 holes on either side of it. Those are for the third clutch. Now, we don't want to flow in one port and out the other. So basically all we're doing is balancing the oil here, where we'll plug the right side of that hole set. So we plug the right hole. All we're doing is creating a feed that's just one way, and it can't possibly fuck the timing up or anything like that. And then on the center support itself, to help with that, you would leave off the second ring down entirely. Just leave it bare. If you're feeling crafty, get on a lathe, machine that ledge off, but it's not necessary. And that is how you double the strength of your first gear, your third gear, and the other gears in the corresponding combos they work with. Along with your boost valve, which increases the pressure, you multiply that by your surface area that you've just doubled. Well, you've probably more than quadrupled the strength of your already strong stock for a lady.
Man, that's cool.
And that is how it works.
It's pretty interesting that, like, as engineers of GM stuff, why would they not have done some of that stuff in the beginning? You know what I mean? Like, and how many of those tear up before folks like you figure that stuff out? You know,
I think a lot of it is for comfort and cost effectiveness. So cost effective in this case doesn't make sense because they don't have to spend money on those seals, even if they're worth a penny. However, when you double the surface area of something, you are going to make it apply harder, even if you keep the same pressure, because there's more area pushing against and colliding with something. So even though it definitely wouldn't bother you guys or most other street racers at all, you guys would probably love it and be like, oh, it's like Cadillac. 85-year-old granny or whatever is not going to like it so much.
Because that's, I mean, essentially you're creating like a shift kit, right? Where it's like, it's a faster, harder shift.
Essentially, yes. I like to view the whole build as a shift kit, essentially, even though a shift kit mostly, and it's defined as basically holes in a valve body plate and a couple springs in a valve body. But a real shift kit, in my opinion, is all those variables considered with what you're doing in the valve body. Because if you have I don't know, we'll go back to the 60 for a second, because that one's a little easier to talk about. You have a band and a third clutch. Both those make fourth. One makes second, one makes third also. And they have to work together. If you don't do your shift kit right with everything else, then they're going to be off time regardless of the tune. And when they can't work together, guess what classically happens? You lose third and fourth, and seconds hurt too, usually.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's where that's why everybody hates the 60.
It is. It's such a touchy little creature, but boy, when it works, it is nothing unlike anything else.
Well, and it's a much better first gear. Especially for like a car with 350 horsepower that you're just cruising around town, and you're really like you've built a cruiser. So it sounds good. It needs to do some burnouts when you leave a stoplight. Things like that. Like a 60 is much better for that than an 80.
It is, yeah. For the guy just not trying to spend crazy money like I build, like that is kind of how it is. The 60 is good for light duty, 80 is good for heavy duty. 80 is easier to build than the 60. Sure, the 80, your 0 to 30 is going to suck, but you can do ratios to compensate that.
Yeah. But again, then you're spending money. You're buying parts. You're doing all the others. You're building a transmission.
Yeah, and on top of that, 80 swaps can get pricey, but they can be cheap. It's such a toss-up because I just see the budget building thing kind of vanishing. Things are getting a little pricier, harder to find. When you get into like stuff like we're doing, the 60 does kind of have a limitation over the 80 in the ratios. When we're putting it through 1500 wheel, like with Matt's car in the 8-second, 834, we had so much trouble with the 1-2 and 2-3, just getting it to shift because it was just skipping over the tables. The car was too fast for what the ratios were. So we were pulling timing, this and that. Eventually, we just programmed in a second gear start. Started at a 155 ratio, which is basically a power glide ratio. Then we're going to try it like that. That is going to be the real ticket. And I've had a guy in New York, Pat Maloney. He did it. He pretty much did 850 on the street, but he blew up his motor at the same time.
Wow. Man, that's interesting.
Second
And-
gear starts are good in the 4 speeds. They can be done, but you are going to take off.
Right. So then are you shifting 2, 3, 4 on the track, or are you just using 2, 3?
No, we're just using 2, 3. So we're doing it a couple different ways.
Mhm.
Mats we're going to do through tuning, which I think is a little safer. Pat, with what I do to the 4L60s, which I can't get into, our trans brake will work in every gear, unfortunately. So I just had Pat put it in D2. And he naturally, you have to upshift real quick to D3, but he was able to pull that off.
That's pretty cool. Well, let's talk about leaving it like in D versus a manual valve body. Like, are you use my truck as an example? Truck makes 550, built to cruise around on the street. I'm going to go to the track 10 times a year, maybe probably more like 5.
I think it depends on what kind of person you are and what you're looking for as well. 10 times a year, if it were me, I'd do the full manual thing. I like a little more rough rowdiness. A full manual is going to be constant pressure, which means you are going to experience wide open throttle shift pressures all the time, even if you got your big toe on the gas. And you are going to have to shift it all the time. And there's a danger of you forgetting and bogging down your motor and, stalling it or whatever. The other route, I really embrace the tuning because you can still shift it and actually lock out certain gears with certain mile an hours. So you could have the best of both worlds with 2 tunes saved on most of the electronic stuff. If I were like a Turbo 400, though, full manual, reverse pattern, trans brake all day, no question. A lot of the older stuff, like the governors for auto shift, doesn't work with boost at all. Doesn't like it. Doesn't like the turbo lag. Won't shift right. Good luck. Electronically, much easier.
Yeah. And I think that's, as we look at things in the last 10 years, let's say, right? The electronics and the understanding of how that stuff has worked and does work, and like Terminator X Max kits and things like that, that really help with making cars much more streetable when they're not on the ragged edge, making a pass or something like that. You can actually like have a regular cruise around car, and then when you get into it, now it understands, hey, I need to shift harder, I need to stay in a gear longer, all that kind of stuff.
It is. And most standalones, which again, I just recommend everybody get one if you can. Just do it. Bite the bullet. Because you can save multiple tunes half the time. It makes tuning it so much. It takes all the hard stuff that you don't want to worry about out of it.
Yeah.
And if you do got to diagnose a problem, you're looking at my throttle position's messing up or my output speed's messing up, basically. Which one? True or false?
Right. Interesting.
The other thing is just like that, you are able to save a full manual tune on some of these things. You could max out your mile an hour to 255 through all 4 gears and basically have a forward pattern in a very primitive way. There is a little bit more to that, but that's essentially how you do it. Or, like I said, going home from the track, flip it on tune 1 and put it in D and just
cruise.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it. But if you had something old school nowadays with modern power plants, the auto shift's gone, full manual all day. It just has to be.
Yeah, see, the old truck is built more street friendly, and I just want to column shift that thing to D or 3 and just cruise around. You know what I mean? Like if I'm going to do some big Broly burnouts, I'll pull it down into 3rd gear so it doesn't shift into overdrive.
Yeah. And if somebody out there like does know, one of you old heads does know to make a governor work with the turbo at pretty decent power, let me know, because I don't. And to my knowledge, it just can't. So correct me if I'm wrong.
Interesting.
Yeah, I've ground weights on different. The hardest one was a 513 ratio on a rear gear. They don't like that. Switching from a mechanical to electronic, in my personal experience, with no other changes, has changed the feeling in general with just how it felt. That's why I'm really after it, and why I think the 6L is going to be kind of the next big thing. When you really get into that, you have so much to play with at your fingertips on a computer, and what it can do. It's unreal. And I don't think we've barely cracked the 4 speeds. I mean, there's so few people that actually understand them. It's going to be a while for the 6, but some of these tuners are figuring it out.
Well, like you said, with a few things, it'll hold 1,000, and that's 95% of the street cars.
Yeah, and the
Make
only real
less than 1,000
downfall,
horsepower.
the only downfall of the thing is it's just big. It's just hard to fit and shit, just like the 80.
Yeah,
So-
except it's 2 more gears that are the same size. You know,
Yeah.
like it's got a big body on the 6L80s and 90s, and putting that in a car that had a 3-speed manual means you're probably going to put a trans tunnel in it.
Yeah, and this year's been wild. I've done some real crazy shit. We have a 60 and a V10 Viper right now. I don't know how I don't know how, but he did. Now the motor's coming out. He's going to a stroker crank. He's going to make more, well over 1,000. But so far, we've done some crazy cars like that. We've done an F1 style GTO this year. I'm still waiting on pictures of that, but it sounded pretty interesting.
Interesting. That's why the 60 behind the Viper setup.
I never did ask the guy. He has one behind a Mercedes as well, a C-Class that's all done up. But I guess it works well, and I really think between the 4L60 and the 6L90, those 2 things are going to be so popular in the next 10 years just because of how the ratios are. I think they're both just perfect for that.
Well, and that's a perfect way to segue into Jay's question, because like the 10L stuff, the 10-speed stuff is working so well on like the Coyote F-150s and Mustangs and stuff, because there's so many gears. You don't have that big RPM drop as it shifts a gear. So he says, how about 10Ls? There are a couple third-party companies that are doing controllers that interface with Holley EFI.
Yeah, and I don't know anything about the 10L yet at all. But it's like what I explained, I think, in like a couple episodes ago. It started with the Power Glide. We start with 2 gears and we move on to 3, and then we take that 3 and we move on to 4, then we move on to lockup. Well, I think people really, when the 6L came out, tuning really started being paid attention to. And I think people have learned so much from the 6L80 that it's just made the 8L and the 10L much easier to manipulate. And they are built well. Like you said, the Mustangs, I know they're smashing it out there. I think these guys, it's going to come down to a tune basically eventually for a good transmission.
And getting it to live and stay, because I would think like as your clutches become worn, as your shift pressure begins to lessen as time goes on. I mean, I would imagine that things just have more space. O-rings don't O-ring as much now, like as you get a couple 100,000 miles, and your pressure isn't there, so you start losing some pressure, and then a lot of times you get that back and it's fine. But like these 10Ls, dude, 10-speed automatics, that blows my mind.
So the way, so going back to like 400s and shit, just the tranny, that's all we have. And if you're slipping clutches, you're just overpowering it, or you have a transmission problem. You get into the 6, 8, 10, you have a lot of variables that could cause a problem. However, you have a lot more. You can do pressure modifiers, whereas like the Gen 3 has like basically one pressure modifier table. You get into a 10L or 6L, it's got quite a few, And if you actually know how to, if you're good enough, which I'm not, to manipulate those numbers, the right way, with that many gears, it's quite endless. With how much you could prolong a clutch. I've watched Richard Nelson two quarts of fluid out of a unit before. I mean, and that's
Wow.
on a 4-speed. So who knows, man? We have a lot to learn.
Yeah, and I think we're in a time now where people are willing to spend money on engineering and R&D because they know people are going to buy that stuff. They know they're going to upgrade. They know they're going to, spend money on car parts because cars are cool again. People want performance modifications. People want performance cars. They want to go drag racing. They want, that car they couldn't get in high school, but they want to also be able to cruise it, to the cruise night and Sonic and take their wives and girlfriends wherever they want to be able to drive these things across the country, and they have the money to be able to do it now, which I don't think that was the case 20 years ago. That 20 years ago, a 500 horsepower car was a bunch. You
Oh,
were
yeah.
you were king shit around wherever you were at. Now 500. I mean, there's production cars with 500 horsepower. There's production cars with 450 that will idle in traffic for 8 hours. So
There's Kias that can keep it. The baddest car is the Nissan Altima. That's a bad son of a bitch.
yeah, I mean, they'll get down for sure. All right, well, let's wrap this up. Tell everybody where they can find you, what's coming up next on the channel, what you guys are doing in the shop right now.
You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and we have a Rumble too. At just type in at PerformaBuilt and you will see it. Coming up, I do have a lot of backlog, man. Editing is hard. Eric, didn't you learn that Adobe recently, haven't you? Yeah. So
Yeah.
when you do a lot of clips and you get the razor blade out, it really hurts your eyes.
It
Yeah.
does.
But I do have some things I am going to release. I'm trying not to talk about the 4L60 so damn much this year. I'm trying to just do more, show some more things off, talk more about the 80 and the 400 because we've been neglecting those. So
Yeah, that's awesome. We'll
coming
bring it
up,
on.
we're trying to actively post, check in on us. And if you got a question, man, give us a call. If I got time, I'll try to help you out.
Yeah, I mean, you're a wealth of knowledge, dude, and I appreciate the opportunities. I mean, you and I have talked a bunch about stuff for the old truck. The plan right now is to get it through this winter or this summer of driving it, and then send it to you. And I've really been leaning on a trans brake just simply because I want it to do big, gnarlier burnouts. 1199 in the quarter mile and an 1100 foot burnout is my goal for by the end of the year. So we're going to see if we can make that happen. And I think once we figure out how to get there with that, then it's the next step without a cage. That's I don't want to put a cage in the old truck. So we'll see. I don't know. I mean, maybe we take that level to where it's at, and then I put a 60 and a stock 5.3 in it, and we put that in something else and go fast.
I will build you a 60 to outdo any 80. I got you, Michael.
Yeah,
Don't you
see
worry.
the budget minded thing. That's what I love, man. That's why I think this conversation tonight is going to be great. I think people are going to learn a ton of stuff, and I appreciate you giving out those tidbits for 80 stuff, man. Because like I was in the junkyard the other day. There's literally a 4L80 laying on the ground next to a truck. Like somebody had pulled the motor and just unbolted the 4L80 and set it there. Like they're out there.
Honestly, that's great advice. The best thing you kind of could do, since the hard parts are heavy and they do wear in the middle, just if you got 2 cores, buy 2 cores because you're probably going to swap some stuff.
Yeah, right. That's exactly right. All right, dude. Thank you so much. Hang tight with us. I want to talk to you after we end the show, and then
Yeah. I found a birthday candle. I'm going to light it for Eric at the backstage.
Yes.
Perfect.
All right.
And hey, listen, I appreciate you guys hanging out. Tonight's been awesome.
Yeah.
Ryan is so smart. It's got to be hard for him to dumb that stuff down for me.
Right.
You know what I mean? And but I really do appreciate him coming on. I appreciate Chuck coming on, spending the time with us. We do this after hours, so a lot of times, everybody's at home, man. They're trying to get their regular life going for that. So we appreciate everybody being out here. And dude, you want to send us out?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks everybody that tuned in. Lots of comments tonight, lots of viewers. So appreciate everybody. You guys are our race car friends. We appreciate you. And of course, all of our sponsors, Summit Racing Equipment, Deechworks, Molly Motorsports, Driven Racing Oil, Howard's Cams, J-Wire Solutions, WAF Racing, PerformaBuilt Transmissions, Car Chains 3D, PowerTube TV, Sweet Patina, and Racing Junk. And we will see you guys on Saturday morning for the news show.
Yep. See you guys.